Welcome to this week's episode of Shabbat with a Schmear here at Barney Greengrass. I'm Meredith Berkman, Shabbat mom, and I am here with my good friend and Torah scholar, Rabbi Adam Mintz, and we are talking again this week about leprosy, but not leprosy, and Lashon Hara.
Metzora. That has a special place in our hearts because this was my son's bar mitzvah parsha, actually not 24 years ago, but 14 years ago.
Well, I have a theory about the kids who get Tazria or Metzora for their B'nai Mitzvot, and that is that I have found over the years that often they're the most interesting kids. They grow up to become the most interesting adults, and I would love, with all my spare time and resources and energy, to do a study that looks over time at some of the most successful people, let's say, of the last 100 years, if we could figure out who had that Parsha. And I would suggest that, is it self-selection or, his selection, her selection? Because a 13-year-old has to find their way in, their way to engage with something that really is sort of widely considered as like the dud Parsha, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's my Parsha. How does a 13-year-old make sense of that, make it interesting, make it relevant for themselves? So I think that maybe those kids get it for a reason.
Maybe, that's interesting. And actually, let me correct myself so I don't get in trouble with him or
your wife, yeah.
So his bar mitzvah was actually 16 years ago. He's 29 now. And when he was choosing the topic for his speech afterwards, he chose something completely unrelated to Metzora. He wasn't engaged in Metzora, and I wasn't very engaged in Metzora. So he talked about Passover.
So that tells you that he's resourceful, and that the cobbler's son goes without shoes. He wasn't engaged in the Torah, and his Torah scholar father wasn't engaged in the Torah. He sounds like a man with a lot of confidence that he chose to ignore the Parsha and talk about something he wanted to. See, these are really interesting and powerful people.
And he'll be very flattered that we dedicated an entire episode of Shabbat with a Schmear to his bar mitzvah.
And that you corrected yourself.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.